Hello, welcome. I'm Jenny, and I'm gonna lead you through a painting. And it's fall season as I make this video, and I am gonna lead you through this beautiful fall tree. And this is the stuff you're gonna need. So this canvas size is a 16-inch by 20-inch. It's a very standard size, and that's what I'm gonna be using. I do have a little easel that I'm setting it on to paint with, which makes it easier to paint with. And any kind of like hobby store will have that for you. But if you don't have that, you can also just lay a canvas right down on a table. I've done that many times before, so don't feel like you have to go and buy one. So 16 by 20-inch canvas, and I have my easel. And these are the colors we're going to be using. So I'm going to read them off to you, and I'm going to give you some options. So I have Mars Black, and I use this Blick acrylic. It's an acrylic paint, but we have Mars Black, Blockout White, we have a turquoise, a phthalo blue, a bright red, chrome orange, and chrome yellow. Now, I love this brand because it's a nice thick paint, but if you're just starting out, you do not need to spend the money to get this right away, especially as you're practicing and just getting familiar with this. Any craft store will also have the little, like, I think it's called Folk Art, and there's other different brands that are literally like 99 cents or less a piece. And you can just get colors similar and go through the process as you're learning. It's still going to turn out great. And it's great for learning without having to spend a lot of money. So just want to let you know, you do not need to get the expensive brand. You can go cheaper as you're learning. So that's an option for you. You're going to also need 3 brushes, and I'm just going to call them kind of by size to keep this really easy for you. So this is a nice big brush, which is great for covering large canvas areas. So a nice big brush, and one that's more of a, if I put them side by side, a medium size, and a small one that preferably has a nice little point to it. For nice details, especially since we're going to be doing a tree with little branches and things like that. So a big, medium, and little brush is what you'll be needing. You'll also be needing paper towels, or you can also use an old rag. Just know that paint that gets on the rag is on there forever. It dries up on there, and that's your paint rag from now on. So just make sure it's an old one that you don't care about if you want to use the rag, which I often do. So you'll also need a cup of water. You can either use like a plastic solo cup, or I like to use like an old jar because it's nice and sturdy and doesn't tip over. So yeah, we'll be using that, which the brushes will go into and stay there so they don't get dried out on you. So that is what we're gonna need to get started. And so gather up your supplies, and I'm gonna lead you through this step by step. You can pause the video at any time, take your time with it. And yeah, I cannot wait to teach you this painting. Okay, first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and take your paper plate, and you're gonna take your turquoise, and you're gonna pour a little bit into your plate. Now, I like to say painting, mixing is like cooking. It's kind of like a dash here, dash there. So this is not important to get super exact. I'm just going to show you. I just kind of put in just kind of a nice amount, a nice dollop of that turquoise. That's going to be our main color for the background. I'm also going to take a little bit of white. You can use a little bit less white. So whatever you put in for your turquoise, you're going to put just a little bit less of the white, just a little bit. That's going to be for blending and for adding a little bit of highlight in the background there. And I like to give the paints a little bit of a shake sometimes when they've been sitting there a while. I'm going to take a little bit of my dark blue, my phthalo blue, and kind of like the white, I'm adding just a little bit, not too much. Okay. All right, you're going to get your big brush, your largest brush, out of the water there to tap it off. And I like to give it just a nice squish on the paper towel there. Paper towel or rag. Sometimes I use paper towel, so I kind of switch back and forth. So if I say paper towel, that's why. So you're going to pad that off. You're going to go ahead and take your big brush and get a good amount. You can kind of dip both sides onto your brush there. And you're going to go ahead and start covering this canvas. Now, you don't need to totally cover it. I'm going to just start going side to side. You can also even kind of make the brush swish around like this, wavy like. This is an abstract background, which means it's very forgiving. We have a lot of leeway here for basically anything goes. A lot of this is going to be covered with a tree. It's just background, so it's not a big deal. So I'm going side to side, back and forth, right to left. I'm putting good pressure on the brush. Side to side here. Filling in. I'm going to have some blank spots showing, some white of the canvas still showing, and you want that because we want to be able to add in some of the other two colors that we're going to add in. When you get to the bottom part, because it doesn't really matter which way is up or down at this point, you can just flip your canvas upside down at that point. Okay. And I'm not going to do more than that. So as you can see here, there's canvas showing, and it's even a little bit see-through and transparent, and that's okay. We're going to add and we're going to blend in just a bit. Something that we can do right now, though, with this color while we're at it is we can paint all of the edges of this canvas. Now, I do this with all of my paintings. Every time I teach to for classes, for newbies, and even with my own paintings, I always do the edges because it just looks like a much cleaner finished piece at the end, and it makes an automatic frame on your paintings. So a lot of my own personal paintings I don't even frame them. I frame some of them, but a lot of them, if I have the edges painted, I just hang them up just like this. With the painted edges, they just look professional, they look finished, they look polished. So I'm just going through and just getting all my little edges here. I'm holding my canvas, but if it's easier just to have it setting on the easel, you can do that as well. Either way, for me, it's just comfortable just to kind of lift and turn my canvas as I go here. Just have to be a little bit careful when you flip. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and set that back down now. All right, now you don't have to rinse your brush. You can leave it with this color on here. Maybe wipe off just a little bit on your rag or paper towel there. Now at this point, I'm going to dip in a little bit of white. So I'm just going to dip right into some white paint there. So I have both colors on my brush. This is random. Anything goes here. No matter how you do this, it's going to look really cool. You just kind of like go with the flow here. So wherever I kind of have some white showing still here, I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to start to whisk in a little bit of this white paint. And what's going to happen is it's going to start to blend. I'm even going in some spots where it is mainly turquoise just to add a little bit of variation. Now the key to this is to just do a little bit and move on. The more you go over and over the same spot with blending with the brush, just going over and over it, it's eventually going to all become one color. So to keep the cool marbled effect of the stripes and everything, you want to just do a little bit. See, here I am blending just a little bit. And then I'm going to let that go, move on, redip, get a little bit more white, add a little bit more here, dip again, dip again, what's nice about the white paint is it covers up some of the transparency. It's a good coverage color. So you'll notice once you start doing the white, you start to get a much nicer blend. It just all starts to come together there. So I have a nice kind of a blend of some turquoise and some white. It's kind of all coming together here. And I want to add a few more areas of some darker areas just to add a third color. So we added that dark blue as that third color there. So at this point, I'm going to rinse my brush. And the way I like to rinse is I like to push down and press and stamp the bottom of my cup a few times. Stamp, stamp, stamp. I call this a sloppy rinse. You're not going to get all the paint off, and that's okay. You want a little bit of the color on there. So I kind of rinsed. Tap, tap, tap. And give it a little squeeze or a squish on the rag. Okay. Now I'm going to dip into my dark blue. Pick a spot, any spot. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of anything goes. This is abstract. Like I said, that's the beauty of this. So let me just start here in a corner here. So I'm starting to feather this in. And as I'm going left, right, and look, as I start to bring my brush down, eventually the color is going to fade away. And I kind of like that, like a nice dark spot, and it kind of fades out. Maybe I'll just soften the edges. I'm just kind of extending the edges there a little bit. You dip in a little bit more of that dark blue. So I got a nice kind of corner there. Maybe I'll kind of counteract that with a little bit down here on this corner. Blending it out. Again, this is a personal preference thing here. If you really like this color, you can go very vibrant, or you can kind of leave it alone, go a little bit more subtle. I'm almost kind of feeling more on the subtle side. I might add a little bit right here. Maybe more on the edge. Bringing it on down. Smoothing it out. So at this point, you kind of take a look at your background and see what do you want to add. And this is just, I'm just going to talk out my thoughts out loud of if I were to look at this painting like, I really like the turquoise color, and I feel like I want a little bit more of that original turquoise color in there. So I'm going to add just a little bit more for fun. I'm going to do a kind of a quick sloppy rinse, get some of the paint off, squish it on the paper, sorry, on the rag. I keep saying paper towel because that's what I use as well. All right, I'm going to get that turquoise again. Maybe I want to, I don't know, add a little bit more of that. I can even mix that in with a little bit on top of some of the blue. And then I'll get kind of a third color because it's going to mix with that blue there. Maybe a little bit here. Maybe a little bit here. Just kind of softening up. the overall look here. You know, at this point, you can do a double dip situation with any of the colors that you've used. Maybe I want to add a little bit more white again. Maybe I don't want it to be super white. Maybe I double dip with the white and the turquoise together on the brush, white and turquoise together. And maybe I can just add a few more little streaks wherever I'm feeling it. This background's gonna look so pretty with the autumn colors that we're gonna put with the tree, with the reds and the oranges and the yellows coming up. So I love this. A little bit more down here. Remember, it's acrylic paint. It dries really quickly. I love acrylic paint because any spot that you don't like or not happy with, you can just go over with more paint, keep smoothing it out until you like it. At this point, I feel like, as I say that, I want to tweak a little bit more. Yeah, add a little bit more of the blue. Okay. Almost there. Like I want to brighten my edge there just a bit for variation. Can go on and on forever with these things. It's kind of knowing when to stop too. I feel like, okay, I like that I have this nice multicolored background. Everything's covered. Now everything's covered. Okay, so once you got that, you can put your brush back in the water. You can either walk away and let this dry. It doesn't take too long to dry, you know, in about 20 or so minutes, it would probably be totally dry. Or if you want to speed up the process, you can use a hair dryer, which is what I use all the time. I can dry this right away and go right on to the next step. You just turn it on high heat. Of course, when the painting's wet, it's shiny, and you'll see as you put the high heat with the dryer over top of it, the shine will fade as it dries, and it dries it in a couple minutes versus 20 or so minutes. So I'm gonna grab my hair dryer, be right back. All right, I got my hair dryer. Let's get this baby dry. High heat. You see I get right up close to it. All right, it's dry. All right, hope you're ready for your happy little tree, as Bob Ross used to say. I got myself a clean plate, and I am now going to be using my black paint. Now the black goes a long way, so you don't need a huge amount. I'm just going to give myself a little dollop like that. Now, I like to add a tiny bit of water to my black just because when I'm doing something like a tree and I want it to flow, a little bit of water makes the paint a little bit more ink-like and a little bit more flowy. So what I'm going to do is, just with my medium brush here, I'm just going to dip in the water. It's already in the water. Just lift it out of the water and I'm just going to drip a little bit of water into my black there. Maybe I'll do that one more time. A dip and a drip. Kind of stir that around. So I just added a little bit of water to that. It just made it a little bit more flowy. I'm going to wipe off the brush because I'm actually not going to use this part for the tree. I'm going to go with my little brush so I have a little bit more control. So I'm going to wipe that off, put it back in the water. All right, I'm going to grab my little brush. I'm going to just give it a squish there on the rag. I like to make sure that the point is really pointy. Sometimes I take my fingers and just kind of make sure it's nice and pointy. Now, I love teaching trees because it's just, everyone's always turns out so different when I teach classes, and I just love it. And I know it can seem a little bit scary to do something like a tree, but we're going to take it bit by bit, step by step. I don't want you to even think about this first brush stroke as a tree. I just want you to think of it as a line. So we're going to be starting here kind of around the right side of the painting, and I'm going to just start here a little bit from the corner, and I'm just going to do a line that goes up and right off the canvas. And it can, of course, it's going to have a little sway to it because trees aren't perfectly straight. It's nature, which is nice. We don't have to do a perfectly straight line. We don't want that. So taking my brush, and when I do details like this too, I like to hold my brush first, not up like this. That's hard to control, but a little bit lower, like a pen or a pencil. Get a little bit more control that way. All right, I'm going to dip into my black paint. Boop. I do little sound effects for dipping. That's my little dip sound effect. Boop. So I dip it. Sometimes I also wipe the brush once I do that to keep it nice and sleek. All right, let's start like about 2 fingers over from the edge here, about 2 fingers over. I'm just going to put my brush down. You can just watch before you do this. Place the brush down, and I'm going to bring the brush. I'm putting pressure on the brush. Sometimes I even use my pinky as a kickstand as I drag my paintbrush up for stability. I hope that makes sense. So I'm putting my brush down, using my pinky as a little kickstand here to guide my brush. And I'm just going to go put good pressure on the brush. Don't go too slow. It's better to kind of go up and steady. And I'm going to go up, 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 up. I'm starting to run out of paint. That's okay. I'm going to go all the way up. Boom. Okay. So it's just a line that went all the way up the canvas. Okay. Now I'm going to just redip my brush in black paint and reinforce that line because it faded out. I ran out of the paint there. So I'm going to start here on the top now. And I'm just going to bring this black paint down. I'm just making it a little thicker. Bringing that down. I might have to redip one more time here. Bringing that color down, 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 down. Redip again. Bringing it down. Okay, so all it is a line. That's all we got right now. Now, trees are thicker at the bottom and they thin out at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and give my tree a trunk, or sometimes I call it a waistline. Give the tree a little waistline here. So let's thicken up the tree. I'm going to redip my brush there in the black paint. Might even pull this up so you can see a little bit better there on the bottom there. So here on the bottom here, I'm just going to maybe take it about 2 fingers over. About 2 fingers over. I'm going to put a line there just to show you that about 2 fingers over. It's a little hard to see there. So about 2 fingers over, I just thickened up that bottom part. And remember, thicker to thinner. So I'm going to start bringing this trunk part where I thickened it. I'm bringing this up. I'm following my original line, and I'm still keeping it thick here. But as I move up to the top, little by little, just got to redip when you run it, little by little, you're just going to get a little bit closer to the original line so that the tree thins out as it comes up. That's going to make it look a little bit more natural. Thinner. Okay. So it's not a lot thinner because this is going to be the main trunk of the tree, and it is going to be pretty thick. But I did thin it out a little bit as I got to the top there. So now I'm just going to fill that whole thing in with black paint. Okay, so I'm going to redip my black paint there, and I'm just going to fill in my tree. Pretty much kind of like coloring in the lines here, what you mapped out for yourself here. All right. Got our main trunk. Okay. There she is. I kind of want these branches to kind of come up and come over. So I'm going to now do one other big main branch coming off to the side here. Now I like to think of branches as they split off as the letter Y shape. It just helps to visualize, and again, it takes away kind of the scariness of like, oh, I'm making a tree. It's like, no, just think of it as you made a line that you thickened up on the bottom. Now you're going to make a little split off branch, and I want to think of it as kind of like a wavy letter Y shape. And of course, as the branches go, as they end, they get thinner as they go out, right? So I'm going to dip my brush again in the black paint. And so here's the bottom of the tree. So about halfway going up, I'm going to choose about halfway up. Like you can even start it. I'll even show you just the start of it. Here's the start of it. So I just kind of did a little angled line here, but I'm going to keep that going. So I'm going to redip my brush. Remember I said like a letter Y? Here we go. It's going to go out. Maybe it has a little wave to it. It's going to go a little out. Maybe it has a little wiggle, and I'm going to kind of lift at the end. So again, if you look at that shape, it's like a letter Y, right? I'm going to reinforce that line because, the paint runs out as you go up. So I got the initial line. I'm going to redip my brush here. Sometimes I like to go in reverse because it really runs out at the top here. Go light touch at the top part because that's the thinnest part. Lighter touch, you'll get a thinner line. If you press harder, that's when you get a thicker line. So to control that, I'm going to do very light touch at the top. And now I'm putting a little bit more pressure as it gets thicker on the bottom, and I'm just reinforcing my line. Bam. All right, so it's starting to look like a tree, right? So let me show you this. Where this split off branch connects to this main trunk, you're going to want that to be a little bit thicker where it connects to the main trunk. That's how trees are. Where it connects to the main, it's almost like you're giving another little waistline, another little trunk, mini trunk to this split off branch. This is what I mean. Okay, so here's where this connects to this main one. I'm going to start a little bit higher on this new branch that I did, and I'm just going to make it a little thicker. Boom. See that? Where it connects to the main branch. That's going to make it look a little bit more natural. All right, so there we go. Let's add another one. So remember I said it's Y shapes, and as they go out, the Y shapes get smaller, but they still stay as Y shapes. So let's say I want to do a little split off from this Y shape that I just did. By the way, if your paint starts to get like it's not quite flowing, you can always dip your brush in a little water and then back in the black paint just to make it flowy again. Okay, so I dip my brush. I always kind of wipe my brush along the side of the plate again. I want to keep it nice and sleek, the bristles sleek, so I can get that detail. I'm just going to pick a spot. Okay, here's my little Y-shaped split off. Maybe I want to do another little Y split off here. So see, I just added a Y shape to the Y shape. Remember though, whenever it touches this other one, I want to just slightly just connect it by making it a tiny bit thicker, not too much, tiny bit thicker where it connects to the main one there, right? All right. You can really have fun with these branches too. I'm doing kind of a little bit of a wave. I've seen people do little like curly cues or really, and it's kind of spooky season as I'm making this. It's October, so kind of a Halloweenish type of tree. You can do more curls and things like that, so you can really make this your own. Once you get the hang of it, you can add as many branches as you want. You can really go crazy with this. So here we go. I got two little Y shapes. I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to dip my brush again. And I kind of want to bring the tree out this way. So I'm going to go ahead and do, let me pick a spot here. Maybe down here, I'm going to go ahead and do another kind of branch, but I'm going to make it go a little bit more over, kind of horizontal to the canvas this time. So this time I did another little Y shape, but this time I brought it out and over where it attaches to the main branch here. This one's actually pretty good. I'm just going to do just a little bit just to connect it there. Bam. Bam. You know, and if you need to reinforce that line, you can just, and I kind of lift my brush at the end to keep that nice little point. If the branches do seem like they're a little bulky, remember we're going to be adding all these little leaves, and you can use the leaves to edit and thin out branches by covering certain parts of the branches. That's another little trick that we'll get to. So if you're not happy with your branches, don't worry, there's a little trick to kind of cover parts that you don't like. So here's another one coming off, and look, I could do a little split off of that. Maybe I can do a little Y shape, maybe coming over here. See that? And then I kind of go in reverse and just make it a little thicker where it connects to the main branch there. See that? It's really fun. Once you get the hang of it, you can just kind of keep on going. So let me pull this back here so we can see what I got here. And all I'm doing now is just reinforcing my line, and maybe I'm seeing I want to make my branch that came to the side just a little bit thicker there so it stands out. Let's keep adding. Let's see, maybe there's another little split off kind of coming down here. I'm going to go down this time and maybe out, give it a little wave and lift. Be patient with yourself on this too. The more you practice this, the easier it's going to get. It feels a little awkward in the beginning, but the more you practice this, you're going to get your own flow and you're going to get into your own groove. And I love teaching the trees. They really are my favorite. So again, let me zoom in on this. So where I added this new little split off here, it's a little skinny right there where it splits off. So I'm just going to go in reverse here and just make it a little thicker where it connects. You know, I'm going to just reinforce my line here. Let me do a few little quick ones to show you the flow of how you can just get into the groove here. Watch this. Here's this one. Maybe I want to add another here, another here, another here. See how I'm getting smaller and smaller as I go there? I just kind of went boop, and then I added one underneath, then I added one. So it's like, and if I turn to the side, this is what I mean about Y shapes. It's Y shapes that get tinier and tinier, and you can kind of keep going and keep going as much as you want to with this. So there's no set amount of branches we could do here. It's just whatever you're feeling. I'm gonna just, I feel like I wanna fill this part up a little bit, up here a little bit more. So I'm gonna add another one. I'm gonna go to my branch up here. Maybe add another one kind of, so I can start to fill in this top area. So I just added, whoops, I just added this guy. Dip my brush there again. I'm just making sure that it's a little thicker where it attaches to the main one. Okay. Redip again. Maybe I want to add a few more little, boop, there's another one. Boop, there's another one. There's another one. You know, you can even come down further, maybe add another little split off here. And I'm going to go in reverse, connect it to the main branch that I went out from. Pull this back so you can see a little bit better here. So it's starting to fill in here. It's starting to fill in. I'm going to go ahead and just, and this is another piece of advice too. When you're working on a painting and you're looking at it really close for a really long time, sometimes it's hard to see where you want to put stuff or where you're at. So I often will like take a few steps back, get the full view, go, okay, I'm seeing that like as I step back here. Okay, maybe I want another branch right here. I feel like this part was a little empty. I'm gonna add this. Maybe I'm gonna thicken it up where I pulled that out from the main trunk there. You know, add a little split off here, maybe a little split off here. So it's nice to kind of like step back, come forward, and just get a feel for it. Okay. I'm just gonna add a few more. You can add as many as you want. Maybe I might add something coming down a little further here too. So I'm gonna, yeah, I kind of want this bottom part to have a little bit more. I just added another little wavy one coming down. Again, once I do that, I want to reinforce the line. So maybe I go over it one more time. See how I'm taking my pinky? This is what I mean about my, this is a Jenny thing. This is what helps me. So you can find what works for you, but I'll just share what works for me. For me, I mean, this is dry, the background. So you could even rest your hand like pen to paper to get stability. I find it's like chopsticks, you know, I got my pinky out. My pinky stabilizes my hand. So it kind of like keeps me steady. So I'm not wiggling too much. And then that just helps me to just reinforce a line there. Again, redip after every one so you have a fresh amount of paint on your brush. Here, I'm going to add another one. Bam. Maybe I add one here. You can add as many as you want here. So at this point, you can just kind of watch as I'm adding, and I would encourage you to add a couple of branches that I'm not doing, like something that's just your own. That's going to help train your brain to trust your hand. And even if it, I always like to say this, at the end of the day, you're doing something new and it's just a painting, and some paintings you're going to love and some you will learn from every single one. So the way you learn is by taking chances and going for it. And I've had numerous paintings where I'm like, God, don't like the way that turned out, but I learned something. And then sometimes it's like I really feel like I nailed it. So give yourself the permission to play and experiment. It's going to be so good for you, and it will show up in your life. This is a little bit woo woo esoteric, but I have seen it happen in my life from painting for over 30 years. The more you take risks and go for it with your paintings, it's going to show up in other areas of your life. You'll start getting bolder, making bolder moves in other areas of your life. It's a beautiful thing. It's like this weird mirror effect that's just awesome. It's that saying, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So give yourself permission um, to play, to experiment. You know, if that doesn't turn out the way you want, use it as a practice, paint over it, and do it again. You know, you can rewatch this video as many times as you want until you get it the way you want. Okay, so I got this going on here. I'm just going through and just adding a few more little smaller Y-shaped split offs to just fill out. Bam. Yeah, so I'm just filling it in. Let's see here. I think I need to thicken this part up where it attaches just a bit. Yeah, maybe this as well. I feel like I want this side of the trees a little naked. Maybe I can just, I don't know, add another little branch that goes off the canvas on this side. See, and I thicken where I add it to the main branch there. So I felt like this side, I don't know, looked a little bare. So let me get my bottom of my canvas too with the tree. Bam. There we go. Okay. And then maybe that has a little Y split off. Maybe another one right here. All right, it's getting there. Let's see, I feel like this one needs a little split off. I need to thicken that branch. This one kind of just, yeah, I'm talking out loud. This one, thinking out loud is what I mean. Thinking my thoughts out loud for you to see my process here. I'm just filling in. Sometimes your branches don't even necessarily need to touch. That's kind of a little artistic style too. For example, let's say I want to add a little bit right here. Look at this. I could kind of boom, boom. See how I'm just putting space there? So you could even just, let me do another spot so you can see a little bit better here. Let's say I want to just fill it out here. See how they don't even not necessarily have to touch. I'm still doing little wavy marks. That gives a lot of freedom and leeway too. All right, it's getting there. Okay, as I'm looking at this, I like that I have a nice rounded shape, but I still have some nice negative space over here. I think I want maybe one more little branch thing right here. Here. Oh, you could also have branches crisscross over each other, which is really pretty. For example, let's see. Let's say this top part right here. I'm just going to add a little branch, maybe that comes down and crisscrosses over that. You know? Let's see, maybe right here. So you can kind of really, and I'm just filling in. Again, too, it's kind of fun because you can, when we add the leaves, you can really disperse them and kind of really, that's when it's really going to come to life. Even just like this, it looks cool, I think. But when we add the color, it's going to be amazing. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. You can also sometimes do the lines of the branches backwards. That's another technique. I kind of tend to switch it up depending on the positioning of the painting. Let's see, this part needs a little something. I'm going to add a few more little branches here. Maybe even coming up on the tree here. Here. Yep. Here. Okay. Hopefully you get just like you start adding a little here, a little there. At this point, I'm feeling pretty happy with this. Let's bring it a little closer. So we got a nice little background. We got our tree. We got that main trunk, and we have a nice rounded shape, and it's thicker to thinner, and it thins out. And I think this is going to be perfect for adding the leaves and things like that. So put this down. Can let it sit there a bit, or use the dryer and just give it a quick blow dry. And at this point, your paints are, pretty blue and everything. I would say take a little break, let this sit there, and get fresh water. Clean out your brushes really well with nice warm water, and fill your cup about halfway with clean water, because we're going to now get into our reds and oranges and yellows, and we want them to be super vivid and bright. So I'm going to get fresh water. Okay, real quick, I'm just going to give this, the black dries real quick. So this is going to be a quick dry. So high heat. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to get fresh water. You do the same. And if you need a fresh plate, if you ran out of room, get that as well. And I'll see you in a bit. And we're going to add our leaves. All right, this is dry. We got fresh water. We have cleaned out brushes. I have myself just a fresh paper plate, so I don't have to worry about mixing it with the other colors. You are now going to get your red, okay? Your bright red. I'm going to go ahead and, you don't need much of this. A little goes a long way. So I'm just going to do just a little dollop. And I want to make this slightly a deeper red, a little bit of a maroon. So this is important. You do not want much of this. Black can take over a color very quickly. You want just a touch, like a tiny dip of black to mix in with this. So pretty much I just put a little dot. I'm not even going to use all of that. It just comes out. All right, you're going to get your medium brush out of the water. Medium brush. Give it a little pat off, a little squish on the rag there. Okay, so I got my red, I have my black. I'm just going to dip just the corner into the black, just a little bit, boop, just a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and stir that into my red. Stir, stir, stir. Right away, do you see I'm getting that nice maroon color? Just a nice, deep, deep, deep color. It's beautiful. Okay, once you got that, I'm just gonna wipe my brush off. And I'm going to be adding my first layer of leaves all the way around. I'm going to be doing that using the corner of my brush and pretty much doing almost like a little smudge of a line, and they're going to alternate directions. So it's like I'll do a line here, then this, then this, then this. You don't want to have the same direction all the way around because you want it to look, leaves are natural, organic, and they change direction. So let me bring this up closer. You're going to focus on the more of the outer branch areas. So I'm just going to start on a spot here. So I'm taking the corner of my brush. Let's just do one to get comfortable with it. Boom. And do another one. Boom. You do another one. Boom. 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 See how I'm just kind of do a line, then I twist the brush the other direction. So you're filling in as you go. And you can see each little shape's a tiny bit different. It really is just a line. So you don't want to go too, you want to go kind of like a nice steady pace. And see, I'm just alternating as I go. Some will be longer than others, but I'm just creating a shape. I'm first just kind of going, I'm going to go around the outer edge and start to fill in. And I will take it in a little bit, but I'm just going to start with that outer edge. Let me bring this a little bit closer again here. So maybe I'll start here on the edge. So bring this a little closer. So here's what I mean about this little branch. I don't really like this branch. I'm going to cover some of that up with the red. So you can use that, especially if the point of your branch is a little bit thick. You can just use this as a little disguise and just kind of mask it. You can even have some of these leaves. This is a fall painting. The leaves we're going to have them falling. So some of the leaves can even be overlapping on the black of the trunk, So here I go. You have to just re-dip your brush after every few brush strokes to keep the paint, not from running out there. So I just re-dip every now and then. And boom, 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 dun, dun, dun. I'm just going all the way around my painting, filling in. Like with the trees, everyone's going to have a little bit of a different style. That's the beauty of these paintings. It's just like you're going to have your own specific brush mark style. And I've had people in classes where some are really dainty and some are really thick and wild. And I always tell students that exaggerate it even more. If your style's wild and big, make it even bigger. Go for it. If it's real dainty, go for that too. Like that is a style. We don't want all these paintings to look all similar. We want them to be different and unique. So I celebrate that. That's a beautiful thing. See that? So I'm kind of filling it. And I'm even going out a little further than my branches to fill in I'm kind of creating a rounded shape, okay? A rounded shape. And I pretty much, I went around the outer edges. Now I do have branches inside here too, so I can just start to fill in a few little ones inside too. And look, I'm going rough, right? Some of these are going right over the branches, kind of like clustering right over them. They're overlapping right over them. I'm not trying to be just going on the outer edge of the branch. Some of these cover the branches and overlap. And see and watch it's a twist of the wrist, alternating each time I do a brush stroke. I alternate just a little bit. So watch this a little bit. Here's a brush stroke, then I'm going to change and then I twisted my fingers. I'm going to twist again and twist again. So each time I do a brush stroke, I do this. I'm twisting my brush. That's going to give me variation. So I have a nice amount here. Now here's me just showing you my flow here. I have a nice amount. Maybe I'll just continue to add just a little bit more for myself. Again, this is a fall tree. So I'm going to make some of these leaves falling, just a few. I'm not going to go crazy on this, but I'm going to have, just adding a few more here. I'm going to have some of these, some lines kind of coming down. See that? I just made some falling. I'm going subtle. They're not like, I'm not filling all of it in. It's like when leaves fall, they kind of do it gracefully and in spurts. And so I'm just doing a little bit of, like the leaves are just starting to shed there. I'm going to do a little bit on this side too. See that? I just had a little bit on this side coming down. Maybe I'll do a little here. Yeah. And for me, I feel like that's enough because we're going to be adding 2 more colors. So I'm just going to, for now, put my brush in the water. And I'm just going to bring this up closer so you can really see what's happened here, what I've added. Pull away a little bit there so you can just see nice rounded shape. I brought it out a little further. I added some inside here and I made a little bit falling. All right. With the leaves, it's fun. You don't have to wait till this color dries to add on the other color. We're going to start doing orange. What's nice about this is with each layer, you are going to go over some of your previous color and then you get new shades of reddish orange and things like that. So that's really, really cool. So here's my paper plate. I did my red, right? Now I'm going to get out my orange, my chrome orange. I haven't opened this in a while, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of a shake. Get it started. Okay. Again, just like with the red, don't need much. Oops. Boop. Okay. There's my orange. Maybe I'll add a tiny bit more. Okay. I, of course, always end up getting these all over my hands. I'm going to rinse out my brush. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Give a little squish on your rag. You're going to do exactly what you did before. You're adding some new areas with just orange, but you're also overlapping on some of the red. You're not thinking about it too much. It's very, very free flow. So I got the orange on my brush. Again, I'm kind of using the corner, same technique. Bring this close so you can just start to see. Just going to pick a little spot here. Pick a spot, any spot. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Adding some new spots. I'm going over some of my red, adding new colors. Again, redipping the brush after every few brush strokes. And you can see, like, sometimes I just go right over some of what I just did. Again, not thinking about it too much, just very free flow. Now, I'm teaching this with just no music, just my voice and instructions so you can really hear and see what I'm doing. But when I teach my bigger classes and things, I always use music, and music's such a wonderful tool. Like, I highly recommend something that you love, favorite tracks, and it just puts you in that nice flow state, stream of consciousness. And to me, painting is like a meditation. You just absolutely go into a flow state once you get in the groove of it, and music is a huge part of that. So, encourage you to put on some music that you like and just get into the flow state. I'll show you what that's looking like. So now we're getting that nice, beautiful orange color. Doing kind of what I did before, just going around the edge first to get that rounded shape. And then do a little redip here. And then I'm going to start to kind of get into inside a little bit more. Twisting my brush each time, giving it a little bit of a new direction. You know, don't forget your falling leaves. You got the red ones falling. Maybe there's some new little spots where there's some of this orange now coming down. You can even have some of them overlap the trunk. See, I just put a couple on the trunk there. There's no wrong way or no certain amount. This is personal preference. You can add, you can go crazy with this and really, really, really fill it in. Or you can go more sparse and subtle. It's really whatever you want. I'm getting some of my little falling areas here, filling that in. It's looking good. Beautiful. I really like the overlapping of the tree trunk because because it's all black, that trunk, it just kind of adds a little bit of excitement to that area. So I'm letting some of the leaves be in the trunk area there. Okay, so a little zoom in of what we got so far here. All right, I'm seeing I missed some on the right side of my tree, so I'm just adding a little bit there. Okay. I feel like I have enough there. I feel like it's nice and filled in. It's looking good. Let's do our yellow. We're gonna do some yellow. So you wanna rinse your brush. Remember, push down the bottom of your cup. Stamp, stamp, stamp. Tap, tap, tap. Nice little squish on the paper towel. Squish. Find a little empty spot on your plate there. We're gonna do yellow, and I'm using chrome yellow. I'm gonna give it a shake because I haven't opened this up in a while. About the same amount as I used before. Here we go. Here's my yellow. Now this yellow tends to go on a little bit transparent, so I'm gonna add just a touch of white. That makes it a little more, it gives it better coverage, and it's just gonna make it stick a little bit more. I'm just putting it to the side here, we don't need much. I just put one little dot of white, And I'm not even gonna use all that. I'm just gonna use just a little bit of that white. I'm gonna stir that into my yellow to mix. Stir, stir, stir. Now, and this is the finishing touch, so Got that on my brush. I'm gonna wipe my brush. It's not too gloppy on there. Is that a word, gloppy? Okay. And do the same thing you've been doing. Some will be new spots, some will be overlapping. Have fun with it. It's very free flow. The yellow really, really brings this to life. I mean, look at this. I'm just going to add a few. So this really, it just really shows. It just kind of really brings it to life. And I really do love how it mixes with some of the paint that's still wet and you get other shades. Like I can see I'm going over some of my orange and getting different shades of oranges and reds. See how they're just like, the key is do a mark and move on. Don't keep going over a mark. You want to keep it crisp and keep it moving. So I did that top part. I'm going to redip. And I'm just filling it in. Same way I've been doing here. Again, I just like to kind of start off with the rounded shape just to make sure I get the rounded shape. And then I'm going to start coming in to the more the center parts here. So I'm going to come up real close here just so you can see. Again, see how I'm just twisting my brush each time. Twist, 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 flick, 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 filling in, filling in, filling in. Every now and then, gotta swish my brush back into the paint, get more. It's looking like a fall tree. Filling in, filling in. By now, hopefully you're like, okay, I got this. I got the hang of this now. So I kind of pull this back. You can see it's just adding a lot of, it looks really pretty too with that blue background. These are contrasting colors, yellow with the blue. So the yellow really stands out against a bluish, greenish background. And then I kind of did a nice all the way around. And of course, I'm going to add a little bit in the middle, but I'm getting some fresh yellow just to do a few leaves falling that are more of a pure yellow. So I'm just adding a few more little falling leaves with the yellow coming down. Get a little bit more here and you can add a few that are falling that kind of overlap the tree trunk a little bit too, like we've been doing. And I will pull this in closer so you can see a little bit better. I want you to get an overall view of how I'm just kind of just casually adding an over, it's just layers upon layers. At this point, the painting is all, I mean, it's all there. This is all just prettying up and adding little extras. Again, you can add as much or as little as you want. There's no wrong way. As I'm looking at mine, I'm feeling almost done with this. I feel like I like the amount of leaves. Yeah. Beautiful. You could at this point too, if you want to go over your previous colors, you could go add more red again, more orange, if you feel like you need a little bit more of those colors. Again, anything goes. Let me pull this in closer so you can see. You can see where I added some coming down. You can see they're different, how different the sizes are. Some are bigger brush strokes, some are tinier brush strokes. Again, very abstract. Let me just show you a little bit about like if I wanted to add, let's say, more orange. Rinse my brush here. Again, quick and sloppy rinse. Don't have to rinse it all the way because it's going to mix anyway. I kind of just rinsed it. Maybe I want to add a little bit more orange again. You know, and if I wanted to, I could just fill in maybe. Maybe I want it to be a little bit more orangey. Yeah, so I'm just going in and just adding a little bit more. I kind of like where I can still see some of the branches showing through. I don't know, for me, it's like, I like it filled in, but I like it to be a little bit more, not super clustered. Like I like to still see the little details of the lines and things. So I feel like, you can see sometimes the paint goes on real thick too. Like that's a real thick brush stroke, and that looks really nice. Yeah, sometimes I go real thick in there. But shoo, I feel like it's complete. Dun 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 dun. There we go. We have a beautiful fall tree. If you want to, you can sign it. I always think paintings look really cool with a signature. I usually sign mine kind of on the bottom right. You could even do like in like white. You can do like initials in the bark, almost like it was carved in the bark or something like that, or even on the side, on the edge of the painting. But that is it. Let me know what you thought about this. If you want to post and share your photo of your tree, I would love to see it in the comments. And this is actually my first YouTube video on here. So yeah, I've been painting for over 30 and teaching for 10, and I just love doing this. And I've been wanting to start a channel for a long time and just share what I love with you. And so if you're on brand new to your painting journey, I just want to tell you, just keep going. It gets easier and easier, and it's a continuous unfolding. And I feel like it's so good for your nervous system. It's such a beautiful thing to do. And, you know, in this day and age where there's so much distraction and technology, it's nice to do something with your hands and create art. Like that's a really special, precious thing that I think that we need. That we, you know, people need art, and creating art is something so important. So if you liked this, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of this, please subscribe. My goal is to create and share a painting a week, and I'm so excited for that. So thank you for joining, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.